Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the GEB America podcast. I'm your host, David Groves. And we want to say a special shout out to those that are listening on Spotify, Apple, watching on YouTube. And for those of you that are now watching on one of our network channels, GEB America or GEB Asia, our 30-minute version of this on TV. Well, it's a new year, and I'm excited for what this new year has in store. I believe there's a lot of good things ahead. And we thought, what would be a really good idea to start off the new year, but to bring on a dear friend of GEB's. He's an author, he's a speaker, and he's an all-around brilliant guy. Simon T. Bailey joins us today on the podcast. Simon, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you, sir.
Definitely. I hope that your new year is off to a good start. It sounds really like you've got some busy days ahead.
It really is. It's a good hair day for me, so that's most important.
Yeah, me too. A little bit. Well, hey, let's just start right off the top. People are like, I don't know who this guy is. This is somebody shared this podcast with me, or they're just flipping through the channels. Tell us a little bit about your passion for this concept of we were born to be brilliant and how we can do great things with our lives, the destiny of our lives, by really just fostering that concept.
So everything that I've done over the last 20 years since leaving Disney is to really teach people how do you amplify brilliance and lead well. So in a nutshell, 20 years ago, I was teaching people how to release your brilliance. 10 years ago, how do you shift your brilliance? Now, how do you amplify? How do you expand? How do you enlarge? How do you impact every place you show up? And here's the key takeaway. How to be a plus in a minus world. Wow. That's what Amplify is.
That's amazing. So, a lot of people set resolutions, they set goals, but by the time we get to February, sometimes already here early in the year, we've kind of just run through those stop signs. We feel defeated. We don't feel like we can do it. What is something somebody can start right from the beginning of 2025 here, the first couple of months, and do that is going to be really a game changer for their entire year?
Commit to 15 minutes a day to become a better human being. Mm-hmm. How you start the day determines the day. So at the very beginning of the day, chunk that 15 minutes down into 3 5-minute segments. The first 5 minutes, meditate. Second 5 minutes, read or listen to something that inspires you. Third 5 minutes, stretch and get aligned with the day. So your physiology is totally in alignment with the day. And if you do that 15 minutes a day consistently, that creates 7 days a week. 7 days a week creates 30 days. 30 days creates 90 days. So that commitment to 15 minutes a day.
I love that. So, so many of us, we start the day with some kind of scripture, devotion, prayer time. So take that first 5 minutes and just kind of focus on, what it is that you need to maybe hear, understand from God for the day. I think your second one is interesting. So listen to something. This podcast,
absolutely.
Shameless plug. I hope you listen for more than 5 minutes, but listen, or maybe an audiobook or yes, a podcast or something that is, that really does inspire you. And this would be something that is maybe not necessarily in your field, but maybe something you just have an interest in, or it's something that really just kind of gives you, maybe some life or zest for the day.
Yeah, it's to set the tone for the day so that you spiral up instead of spiraling down, because there's always going to be something negative in the world that you are going to hear. How do you ensure that intentionally you're focusing on the positive instead of the negative?
So what would you say for those that are like, okay, I can do the 15 minutes. What are some practical things that you could maybe, if you're taking notes at home, I'm also going to have this in the show notes, that people could use as they go beyond the 15 minutes, as they get into the day and that negative starts to creep in?
I think the first thing is think about your online presence and post a positive note that encourages another human being, another person. Wow. Your online presence, how you show up on social, you never know where people are. And if you help them with just something that encourages them, that goes a long way. I think the second thing is think about everyday acts of generosity or kindness. So if you go to a restaurant, don't just tip, over tip. what that does for the person, it creates that immediate impact that, like, what? You just did this? Yes, that's absolutely powerful. I think a third thing is encouraging spiritual growth. What would it be like to create a 30-day prayer challenge where you get a group together, be it via text or online, and say, hey, for 30 days, we're going to pray and lift each other up?
I love that. You've written some really great books. For those of you that aren't familiar with Simon, I can't recommend enough these really great and not long reads. Shift Your Brilliance, which I can see behind you there on the shelf, and you started with this concept that, and I want to kind of back up just a hair to give people some intel, but is that everybody is born with an ability to be brilliant, and that children actually are like these little savants when they're little, and then but as we grow as adults, it's kind of like the idea of you grow up and you kind of lose some of that, kind of that feeling of you can conquer the world and you can do anything. That when you're little, as the Bible talks about the faith of a child, we have such great belief.
Yes, you said it perfectly. Everyone has that ability to let their light shine. But oftentimes your light is diminished by everyone around you who doesn't recognize your brilliance. So brilliance is your insight, your potential, or as we could say, the genius of God. So when you allow that light, that genius to come through, and however you show up in society, you are modeling Jesus in a marketplace where your life might be the only Bible that people read.
That's good. Yeah, it's so true because, it doesn't matter what field of career you find yourself in, you might be that one person, that one example that people need. Let me ask you this, because I think this is a really, you kind of made me think of something, and I thought this would be really good to kind of discuss, is this idea that by really not allowing people to diminish your light. I just the other day, someone was saying to me one of their goals or resolutions for the new year was to really be cautious of their friend circle, the people they let around them. Talk a little bit about how important it is to, in some ways, you kind of have to unfollow people in the real world.
Absolutely. Quality over quantity is the big takeaway that I want everyone to really consider. When a person diminishes you, it really speaks to where they are in their journey, because people don't see you as you are, they see you as they are. So sometimes they project onto you where they are in their journey, and there are some people that you have grown past. So they either are pulling you down or pushing you up. So everyone listening to us has got to begin to evaluate whoever has your ear has your life.
That's good. It's like we tell our kids when they're young, if you end up with the wrong kind of crowd, the bad company, is corrupting. And, we see that a lot with, when you're, even when I was a teen, you get around the wrong people, the wrong kids, and you kind of start to act like them, and it just kind of happens. But we kind of forget that when we become adults, and then we get around people, and if you find yourself being negative a lot, then sometimes you got to go, okay, well, where is this coming from? And then you find out, well, maybe you got somebody at work that complains a lot, and you've kind of taken on that a little bit.
Yeah, I realized in my own journey that when I was married for 25 years, I was associating with guys who were married but not marriage minded. And their thinking began to influence my thinking and my thoughts. And what I realized, I had to separate myself from them because it was impeding how I was showing up in my own home. So whoever is around you, whatever is happening in their life, it's going to rub off on you in some way, shape, or form.
This is why I try to stay in contact with Simon T. Bailey, because he is not the kind of guy that's going to drag you down. If anything, he's going to give you a good kick to get moving. Tell me something about this year, Simon, that you're hopeful for, or that maybe kind of flush out this idea of amplifying brilliance.
This is the year to amplify everyone around you, because here's the research. When you amplify another human being, you actually impact your mental health, emotional health, and spiritual growth. So let me give you an example of what Amplify looks like just from a company standpoint. There's a company over in Oklahoma City called Kimray, and I had a chance to spend some time with them a few months ago. And I said to the CEO, I said, what is it, Thomas, that you guys are doing differently? And he said, as you can imagine, employees go through hardship, and you can't write a check or give money to everyone. So they started, by the employees, Make a Difference Foundation. The Make a Difference Foundation is 100% employee ran, and employees who hit a hardship, crisis, you name it, they need finances for whatever, they bring that to the Make a Difference Foundation. The Make a Difference, employee-led, will evaluate that hardship. And, oh, by the way, David, it's funded by employees. And then what the CEO has decided to do is match whatever the employees put in. So it's a double hit, because when they give a contribution, it's given to help amplify that person and make them better. So this is the year, this is the decade where you begin to say, wherever I show up, how do I amplify, expand, enlarge, increase others? Not for what I can get, but for who I become in the process.
I think it's easy to make the beginning of the year about ourselves. You know, what's my resolution? What am I going to do different? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to make some changes. But really, it's great to have a resolution mindset for the people around us.
Absolutely.
And not just our best friend or our spouse or our kids, but, you know, you mentioned the restaurant earlier. I mean, how key it is to be the light of God in those situations where you're at the gas station or you're at the bank teller or whatever it may be. And there's a lot of times where people just are kind of, you know, in a place where that little word of encouragement or just look, they're going to run into plenty of complainers, especially if you work in that space, in the retail world. But not too many people are the kind of people to go, hey, how are you doing today? Or encouraging them or saying something kind.
That's it. You are already articulating how everyday people, just like you and I, can amplify with a little nudge, a little step, a little intentionality to turn the spotlight and the focus off of ourselves and put it on others. Because so much of social media is me. Amplification is about we. How do we amplify everyone else?
You know, it's actually, my brother has this saying, he's a pastor, is that when he walks in a room, he doesn't want it to be, here I am, it's there you are.
That's it.
And it's like the same thing. You know, it's like, just humble yourself, because God expects us to not make it all about us.
Yes.
You know, make it about the other person, make it about the light of Jesus that you can share. So let's talk a little bit in the last couple minutes we have about what are some resources, what are some things that you would recommend? I know you've got you have the Brilliant You, and you have all these different books where I know there's people out there listening. They're like, okay, give me an idea of where to start, Simon.
I would encourage them to get a hold of my book, Resilience at Work, How to Coach Yourself into a Thriving Future. Because instead of telling, I ask you 3 questions. And these are 3 questions that you can ask yourself, but more importantly, the community that you're in, you could pitch those questions to them and invite people to figure out how to thrive in 25.
I love it. That's a great, and there you go. You got the saying for the year. Thrive in 25, because you know a lot of people for a number of years it's been tough.
Yes.
Post pandemic, a lot of people are still in survival mode. I mean, admittedly, we've all been there.
Yes, it's time for everyone to turn the page, hit Control Alt Delete, and say, "This is my year to thrive," and go beyond 2025 to say, "Here are the everyday steps that I'm going to take to make the world better, starting with me, so that I can impact everyone else positively."
So let me take this in a quick direction just to ask this, because you made the comment of Control Alt Delete. Are there some things that people need to really pay attention to this year to really force quit?
Yes, monitor your social media intake. Is it time for you to go on a digital vacation? Whatever that looks like. Putting your device down for an hour, walking away from it, getting out in nature. Number 2, finding a way to write a handwritten note or encourage someone every single day. Are there 3 people that you can encourage with a text, a phone call, a video. And then number 3, at the end of the day, before your head hits the pillow, what are you most grateful for that God did that day? In other words, focusing on what went well instead of what went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Take stock of the good things to be thankful to God for. I love it. Tell us how to connect with you, social media handles, all that. We want to put people, on your on the trail of what Simon Bailey's doing.
Yes, Simon T. Bailey, T for thankful, simontbailey.com. That's my website and all social media.
Love it. For everybody listening and viewing on YouTube or listening on all the different platforms, Apple, Deezer, and Spotify, in the show notes, I have all those links down there. If you're watching on GEB America or GEB Asia, you see there on the screen information of how you can locate that on and via our web portals. And we hope that this helps you to start the year. And here's what I really hope you can do for us is share this podcast with your friends and family. It's not a long one at all. This is one of our shorters because we wanted to kind of start with just a really good, tangible concept to get you going in the first part of the year. So share, like, follow, and be sure you subscribe. Hit that bell on YouTube so you're updated. And remember, each Tuesday we drop a new episode, and we're so thankful for you, our viewers and listeners, and thankful for you, Simon, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we'll see you next time. Everybody, have a great day and amplify your brilliance today.